Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. Why do you think guys like Jocko and Goggins are so popular now? Jocko is the ex-SEAL guy, SEAL Team 6, no, SEAL Team 3 actually. Why do you think those guys, there's no gals that I'm aware of that are doing the Special Forces, SEAL Team kind of stuff. If there are gals, I apologize, but I never saw any of you. But why do you think those guys in the last 3, 4, 5 years have become so, overwhelmingly popular?
There's so few of them now. There's so few of them now.
Well, I don't think that's it.
They're primitive. They go back to our natural...
Absolutely. Because we're all cunts. There's not enough testosterone. There's a chart coming up day after tomorrow that shows testosterone, which peaks out at about 18 years old. And some males, and some up to 26. But it's 18 to 26, and figuratively, you shot your wad. That's it. And it's funny how the frontal lobe of the male isn't fully mature till 25, 6, 7. And so you're thinking with your other head. Instead of your frontal lobe, you're thinking with your head, between your legs. And but by the time you're 70, a few years ago for me, I'm down to no testosterone, basically, according to the charts. Or the norms, I should say, the norms. And I'm a lot of things, but I'm not normal. When I had the privilege of speaking before departing military guys about a year ago in New York City, SEAL Team 6, Special Forces, Special Ops, and these kind of things. And it was quite informative to me. I spent 5.5 hours with them in New York City. And I asked them the same question I'm asking you. And they said they don't have a clue. And they were part of that group. They don't have a fucking clue. But it gets back, but then afterwards when we're having drinks, in the social hour, I forget what they call it. And I had the privilege of meeting the first lady pilot to drop bombs on ISIS and kill a lady pilot. And she's a naval graduate, a Naval Academy graduate. And her forearm, this is a slight exaggeration, is as big as my bicep. And I don't have small biceps. When she shook my hand, the prints of her thumb, she is a formidable gal. But she's an anomaly. Gals, but they didn't understand why those guys were so popular. But having done this for 26 years plus, and having had SEAL Team guys in here, and having had Special Forces guys, and having had active duty Ranger guys, we've got active duty Ranger, Army Ranger right now, rolling up in healthcare in Florida as we speak. But those programs are popular because we meaning the world, the planet, with a few exceptions, don't have the intestinal fortitude, the grit, the balls, whatever you want to call it, as we once did, as recently as my dad's generation or part of my generation. I didn't talk physically to Jocko, but I had emails back and forth with him when I was working on my veteran deal that has not come to fruition yet, 2 or 3 years ago. But those guys are popular as hell. And they don't teach you how to make money. Nothing. And there's better guys that teach you how to do endurance training. Yet, they have these throngs, sycophants that are chasing them around because the kids are trying to live vicariously through them. That's a sad fucking state of affairs. In this one old man's opinion. That's a sad fucking state of affairs. And in that generation, Jocko's generation is basically mid-40s to late 40s. There's nobody really older than that. And I think Jocko's maybe the oldest of that group. And it's quite amazing. But I mean, reading YouTube comments. No haters today, Dan. No haters. They must not have watched this. Okay, but they were commenting about some of the they were making testosterone type comments. And the Dave Asbury, who's the king of biohacking, the fix your body up and stuff like that, who I actually was in business with a couple years ago, and I was interviewed at his 3-day gig a few years ago in Pasadena. Now, in the last year or two, has talked about testosterone levels and how the normal testosterone for a guy, an average guy, should be between 400 and 800, more or less, the count. And I would guess this room isn't 400 average. Take the old guys out. You don't have 400 in here. You just don't. And so one of a Chinese gal, asked me what my testosterone was. And I said, best of my recollection, I think it's about 1,500. And of course, nobody believed me. So I went back and I had Kim pull my medical records, and it was 1,840. So I was wrong. I gave misinformation. I still pole vault out of bed in the morning. At 70 fucking 4. I'm as close to a Neanderthal caveman as walks the earth. I have an extra rib. I have the 13th Neanderthal rib. My dad had the Neanderthal rib. His dad had the Neanderthal rib. I am a throwback. Now, some of the people that don't speak English for the first time, they think that I should be thrown back. No, a throwback means I'm from a different era. I'm a different era. Probably, I should have lived 40, 50, 60,000 years ago is what I should have lived. Like this right here. I like her, I just hit your mate in the fucking head and I drag you off. That is my personality. That's what I feel in my loins. Not all this bullshit, though. What did you think? Now, one of the biggest faults, we talked about being pleasers, remember? Part of being a pleaser is giving tacit approval. Tacit approval is, you and I talk, you know I'm talking bullshit, okay? You know that I'm wacko. But you don't say anything to me. You just listen. You might even shake your head like this, not on purpose, but just like this. So you're giving me tacit approval by not speaking up. So then you go to the next guy, and you say, and I tell the next guy, well, I was talking to so-and-so, and he agreed with me. And by the time it gets around the room, Dan said this, and I didn't say anything. And your whole lives have been based on tacit approval because you don't want to be confrontational. Now, to me, telling a guy or a gal they're full of shit is not confrontational. To the rest of the world, it is. And we all know that's true. But pleasing and giving tacit approval is why you're, for the most part, here. One of the biggest challenges you're going to have when you go home, because this is like a perfect environment. This is like a scientific experiment where everything is in the right place. When you go home and you start implementing this stuff and executing it, it's going to be a different world. People are going to think you're a fucking psycho. But the good news is they won't tell you you're a psycho for the same reason I just explained. But but as soon as they leave the room and they talk to somebody else, that cocksucker, I mean, something's wrong with him or her. But, I mean, the guys that do that kind of stuff, like Jocko, are popular because the people didn't do what they did or what they're perceived that they can do. Now, all these guys that have six-packs, I don't like to tell you, aren't tough. Six-pack is made in the kitchen, for those of you that don't understand. And for a couple of you tubs of shit in here, I mean, you can spend less time in the kitchen. But six-pack are made in the kitchen. And there are eight-packs, for those of you that don't know that either. Because there's another set of muscles up higher. Every once in a while. And 8-packs, 6-packs, 4, 5, 6, 7% body fat, you can wipe your ass with. I'm going to say it again slow for the meatheads. 6-packs, 8-packs, pills, potions, 5%, 6% body fat, you can wipe your ass with. There's no correlation whatsoever with success and what I just described. Zero. In fact, there's an inverse correlation. Because you spend all your time trying to get it. Well, you don't have to worry about six-pack, chubby. I mean, you spend all your time trying to get a six-pack instead of working. We're going to show you some weekly reports. Guys spent 20 hours a week, fresh air walking. I don't know what that means. He's a French guy. Fresh air walking. I guess that's walking in the park or, something like that. And he spends 10 hours a week meditating. Namaste, okay? Meditating. And you wonder why he wasn't more successful. Now, Steve Jobs, which you saw last night, Steve Jobs only got into Buddha when he found out he had incurable cancer. Other than that, he was either agnostic or atheist. I don't know which one, but he didn't believe in anything other than himself. So the guys that, and the gals, mostly guys though, that have spent not their life, but a good portion of their life being fit. My dad smoked 4 to 6 packs of cigarettes a day from the day he was 18 years old till he was 88, and he died at 91. He drank at least a fifth of alcohol, plus wine and other assorted bullshit from the time he was 18 to 88. His brother, who never smoked and never drank, and my dad served in 2 wars. His brother, who didn't serve in any wars, he was a Bible thumper, a minister, preacher, lived 29 months longer than my dad, and never smoked and never drank. 3 years, or not 3 years, almost 2.5 years longer, abstaining from all sinful shit, I guess. He had 2 daughters, so he wasn't abstaining from everything. But and I have those same genes. I have those same genes. When I lived in New York, I used to drink till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, go to change, run around Central Park. 2 times around Central Park is almost 10 miles. Throwing up 5, 6 times because I was still drunk, sick. By the time I got back to my room, my apartment, I was relatively sober. And I did that for years and years and years. And I could go 3, 4, 5 nights, no sleep, drinking like a fish, doing deals, fucking my brains out. And here I am, 74 years old. But getting back to Jocko, we have 3 or 4 of you in the room that purport to be some kind of athletes. I'm saying that nicely. I don't mean it nicely, but I'm saying it nicely. A stiff drink and a good fuck could kill you all. Ask your wives, your girlfriends, and or your mistresses if you got any. I'm going to say it again slowly. A stiff drink and a good fuck. If you don't think you can fuck all night, you cannot fuck all night. Now let's talk about Steve a minute, who I had I don't know if it's a privilege of knowing, but I did. What are the takeaways about Mr. Jobs, other than he's an asshole, or was an asshole? And I don't like to talk about guys that are dead, or gals, in a bad way. But all these people that we're studying here, you got to talk about them in a bad way because they were bad guys. Okay, Steve Jobs.
He was the center of his own universe.
Yep, and you're going to see a slide here. Guys are writing an autobiography about Bill Gates, and he says Bill Gates has considered himself the center of his own universe since he was 10 years old. Bill. Okay, what else about Steve?
He had his own reality distortion field to where he saw, or he would create different circumstances would happen, and he would just believe that he was always right, even if the truth was staring right in front of him.
Don't confuse me with the fucking facts. I mean, I'm the same way. Don't confuse me with the facts. I'm telling you what the Lord knows. And I was saying that when I was 16, 18, 19 years old. I was talking shit since I'm about 16, 17 years old. Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, before he beat anybody. Remember, most of them aren't old enough. I'm the greatest. Hadn't beat anybody up yet. The guys like that talk shit, and they have their own frame of reference. Or they reframe the facts to something that they can adopt. What else about Steve?
Clear goals.
Pardon?
Clear goals.
Clear, absolutely. If you don't think you're going to change the world, guess what? You're not going to change the world. I mean, it's as clear as that. Remember, I said yesterday, you will never exceed your wildest and most audacious expectations of yourself. Never. You just won't. Because your subconscious starts slowing down when you get to whatever, if it's a number. What else about Steve?
It was ruthless.
Pardon?
Ruthless.
You have trouble even saying that word. I go over there and choke you. We'll see if you can get ruthless out of you. Put thumbprints on your neck. Now that's not PC. It just isn't. And they talk about me pulling investment bankers across conference tables back in my heyday and choking them. I will neither confirm nor deny those stories, but they're closer to being accurate than inaccurate. It was my way or the motherfucking highway. Of course, I'm a softer, gentler person now. Dan knew me when I was not so soft and gentle.
People still don't believe it.
Yeah, they don't believe it. I was a little rough around the edges, shall we say. What else about Steve?
He was obsessed with the quality of the product and that it be his way. It was kind of the biggest thing that I saw that was shared between Ray Kroc and Steve Jobs. Neither of them actually built their products, but they were more obsessed about them than anybody else.
Correct. Absolutely. And it's quite remarkable, the people that I've been privileged, and I call it's a privilege to be around a number of those guys. And they're 98% all the same. Most of them don't believe in God, that there is a higher power, until they get sick and they're going to die. Then they all believe in a higher power. Most of them don't give a shit about their legacy until they start running out of runway, and then they all want to paint a different legacy so they're remembered by. I'm going to keep going on, Kat. All of them are workaholics. All of them have missed their daughter's 16th birthday. All of them, well, most of them, if they celebrate Christmas at all, celebrate it in January like I used to. And that's just the way they were. And as we saw a slide yesterday, now Mr. Gates has come out recently and said that vacations and working on the weekends are more or less mandatory when you're starting up a business. He didn't used to say that. But Steve was a psycho. When I was up there, this many years ago, before he got thrown out, I saw him throw the old computer, square computers. I saw him throw them at programmers. I saw him try to throw a programmer out the window. Now, certainly that, now they'd have a camera, right? iPhone, taking pictures to go viral, right? And that person would be fired. At the end, when they were going public and they were sitting around, is that what? And then the people that they thought were going to get shares didn't. That happens not 100% of the time, but almost 100% of the time. You have a team like this big, and everybody assumes they're going to participate in the IPO or the trade sale or whatever. Then only 3 people do. And it's just a normal work day. We're not celebrating. Now in Britain, they like to pop champagne, and that's why two-thirds of the planet used to be ruled by the Brits. 2/3. They called it gunboat diplomacy. Now what the fuck do the Brits have? Now they're all running around and peeing on themselves about Brexit. Everybody had gunboat diplomacy. Back in that 15th, 16th, 17th century. And they were, and now, there's still people that believe in gunboat diplomacy. Mr. Putin is one. He takes over the Ukraine or wherever he took over. And what did anybody do about it? Nothing. They shoot down a fucking plane. What did anybody do about it? Nothing. Obama drives a line in the sand, or whatever that fucking thing he said he did about Syria. And what do? Nothing. Now we got a guy that's president. I'm not saying he's A-bomb happy, but he's more likely to do something than not do anything. And that's, so now it's a game of rattling their sabers in their sheaths. Anything else about Steve?
He's best fit to play the orchestra and not the individual.
Correct, and that's what I said the first night. We're going to teach you how to play all the instruments and be the conductor for the first time. And now, what I didn't say that evening at the arrival, what I'm going to say now, and I'm going to say and pontificate about the next few days, is that 90% of the instruments in the orchestra you don't need. Because we're a debt-driven model, and it's almost always commercial debt. But now, you can borrow money at pension funds. You can borrow money at other institutions other than commercial banks. There's more ways to get commercial debt than just going to Bank of America or World Bank of Canada. And we'll go into that in some detail. Now, you saw, in addition to Steve, you saw...
Dan's a lion.
Oh, we saw Dan. Okay. We'll talk about that off camera. And what was the other thing we saw?
The lion.
Lion. Okay. What was the takeaway about the lion? But it was pretty obvious, but I'm going to hear it from somebody's lips. What's the takeaway?
You give them an inch, they'll push an inch. Right? You give them a mile, they push a mile.
Correct. And Sally and I have had the privilege, 2-3 years ago, we went trekking with a pride of lions. And unfortunately, 4 baby cubs got stolen in the middle of the night by hyenas and killed. And that wasn't part of our program, the trek, because it turned into a fucking circus, a clusterfuck, because the lions weren't like they would normally be. And when they were running around looking for their little cubs, and the male lions didn't give a shit. Male lions just slept, and the female lions would jump on the male lions to get them off their dead ass to go look for the cubs, which is not dissimilar to real life. But it was an experience to see how the female lions wouldn't go to sleep, kept looking for the babies. And the one, even though it wasn't clear if all 4 cubs were from one mom, because there were 2 moms, but all 5 female lions got together to look for the cubs. Whereas the male lions were taking siestas. And so the female lions would, bite them and jump on them and growl at them and finally get them up to And then when the male lions roared, I mean, it was like, and I'm standing from here to Dan. I mean, it reverberates in your ears. But they didn't find the cubs. But they found some hyenas, which may or may not have been the hyenas that stole the cubs, and they ate them for practice. And I can just hear them when they're screaming and growling. They didn't give a shit. They weren't confused by the facts. They knew hyenas ate cubs. They found some hyenas. Those hyenas were history. They may have been innocent, you know. And I told Sam, what if those are innocent? How do they know they're the right hyenas? As the fur and the shit's flying and... Okay, and any other comments about anything you saw?
If you want to eat the best food, have the best life, have the best territory, you've got to act like king of the jungle.
Correct. Absolutely. And and again, I've been blessed with this, the personality. Well, some people don't think it's blessed. I've been damned, cursed, if you want to say, with this personality for a long, long, long time. In 1991, when I got the alumni year of the school you got to explain about, most successful alumni, the CBS was interviewing Dr. Shirley Teeter, who was the dean of the School of Business. And they didn't talk about that I'd flunked out 3 times. They left that out. But they did say that I graduated with honors, which is true. And they said, Dr. Teeter, you've known Mr. Peña a long, long time. What have you seen change in 25 years that you've known him? She looks right into the camera. Now, this is a woman that would not say shit if it were in her mouth. I never heard her say a bad curse word in all the years I knew her. She looked right in the camera and says, the only thing that's happened with Danny Peña is his accomplishments caught up with his big fucking mouth. Those are probably the only swear words she ever said in her life. But the animosity that had been built up for 25 years of me beating the business professors at the school you got to explain about came out. That same award I got, they interviewed my dad, and I told my dad, please don't give an interview. But he gave an interview. And they said, Mr. Peña, you must be very proud of your son, Dan. And he says, yes, I am. And he looks right in the camera and he says, but my son's success is in spite of me, not because of me. My dad wanted to distance himself from any of the success because he knew he had not a fucking thing, in his mind, not a fucking thing to do with my success. Yet your families live vicariously off you that haven't done fuck. If your families live vicariously off your success, how fucking unsuccessful are they? They should be fucking ashamed if you're the best they got. But my dad, and of course, he didn't do that once. He didn't do that twice. He did it 3 times in 3 different interviews, and then we didn't invite him to any more of my honorary fucking bullshit that I got. Because I knew he wouldn't keep his fucking mouth shut. Because he wanted everybody to know he didn't have anything to do with it. Whereas that's just the antithesis of parents, right? Nothing to do with it. But what he didn't understand is just being a tough love, hard ass, fucking beat their kid down is why I am the way I am. He wouldn't accept that because everybody beat their kid. Everybody was hard ass. He didn't think that really attributed to my success. Okay, YouTube, go fuck yourself. Thank you.